Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 28 of my investing journey, where I share my weekly contributions, ETF purchases, distributions, portfolio performance, and what's driving the results. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm just simply documenting my real portfolio and sharing the journey with all of you. As you can see, this has been a very surprising week. We're actually up 11.95%. I didn't think it was going to be like that at the very beginning of the week. I thought we would actually be down, but lo and behold, here we are. Another thing that I just noticed is that we are actually 16.20% all-time high. So this is from the very beginning since I started this journey. So that would be January 2025. So that's actually pretty good. So yeah, I'm very happy with the way things are going. Although I have a feeling that eventually at some point something's going to give and we're going to have a sharp fall. But doesn't really matter to us. In terms of what happens every week, I deposited the usual 75 weekly contributions. I also received $50.63 in distributions during the first half of the month. So that is actually a 13.14% increase over the amount that I received last month, which was $44.75. So that makes me very happy because it means that, the income machine is beginning to be something that is worth taking a look at. It's another encouraging step forward for the income side of the portfolio. So yes, very happy. In terms of buys and sells this week, well, I didn't sell anything. Again, we are on accumulation phase. I released a video early this week, I believe yesterday, where I explain the 4 different stages of my investing strategy, what I'm planning to do from here to, my 10-year plan. I'm going to put the link up. So, go and take a look at that. And I think it's actually quite insightful. So, yeah, so I bought 2 shares of CCHI. I bought 3 shares of HHIC, 3 shares of HHIS, 1 share of HYLD, and 1 share of HPYB. In terms of what I added, well, this several positions already play a specific role in my portfolio, right? HHIS gives me a diversified high-income exposure with a meaningful technology component. HHIC adds to my Canadian income sleeve. HPYB increases my Canadian bank exposure. And I also continue building CCHI and HYLD. Particularly CCHI because I do believe on nuclear. And it's been losing quite a lot of value lately. So I thought, why not? Let's buy cheap, right? In terms of my portfolio performance, like I said, it was pretty good this week. 11.95% year to date compared to 10.12 year to date last week. This is an increase of 1.83 percentage points in 1 week, which is actually very good. It puts the portfolio very close to the 12% mark again, which for me is a very strong result, considering the volatility across all the different sectors, right? In terms of the week-to-date ranking, so we had 14 stocks that were up in the green. We had 4 that were red, 3 that were red, 1 that was almost there. Let me show you what it is. So we have ABGY, AMD, PayG, 6C, QDay, HHIS, HPYB, EC, QQCL, HPYE, HHIC, USCL, HSTIV, and CDAY, which are all in the green, right? Biggest winner being obviously ABGY, so Broadcom, which was up an impressive 10.43% last week. AMD continues to perform great, but we'll go into that in a couple of moments. And the 4 that were lagging a little bit behind, HYLD was lagging behind, 0.06%, not a big deal. But then SDAY, CCHI, and CMCL, right? Obviously, top performance, as I mentioned before, ABGY up 10.43%. AMD up 6.7%. PG, actually pretty good, up 3%. I was pretty impressed by that. 60, I'm not surprised. Canadian banks were doing pretty well. So 60 shoot up 2.78%. And then QDay, because technology was doing pretty well last week, was up to 49%, which is pretty good. It's tech and financials leading the way. In terms of the ones that were holding back, as I mentioned, HYLD was down 0.06%. But then SDAY, which I was surprised to see it there, I wasn't surprised to see CCHI or CMCL, both being, my energy and my commodity sleeve. Gold and silver dropped down last week again. And, petrol was down. It's going to be up this week. So we may see uranium going up this week. We'll have to wait and see what happens, right? In terms of the takeaway, well, the main takeaway this week is that the technology and the financials carried the portfolio, right? ABGY and MDY it really generated a large portion of the upside, even though there are a very small position in my portfolio due to the risk, because they're single stocks ETF. I only allocate a total of 5% to that type of ETF. Canadian Bank led the way, led by 60 and HYYB, who also made a valuable contribution, Meanwhile, commodities, as I mentioned before, remain a little bit of the main drag in the portfolio. CMCL and CCHI continue to move differently, the opposite way from the stronger technology and financial holdings. It is a challenge, but it's also an example of the portfolio diversification, right? When some go up, others go down. The Middle East situation with Iran remains worth watching because, changes in the geopolitical risk continue to affect oil, commodities, and energy-related holdings, right? So next week, we could see the totally opposite of what we saw this week. But overall, this was a very strong week. So like, to tell the truth, I have nothing to complain about it, right? We added another $75. We received more than $50 in distributions for the first half because we got more distributions coming 1 week before the end of the month for the second half of the month. We increased the first half monthly income by 13.14%, and the portfolio is almost back up 12% year to date. So yeah, pretty good. So far, so good. Anyways, this is it for episode 28. Thank you so much for following along. Please, if you like what you see, do not hesitate to like and subscribe. We're trying to reach 100 subscribers before the end of the year. I believe we are at 62 subscribers. So we're we're past the halfway point. So that's pretty good. Thanks for following along, and I will see you all next week for episode 29. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye now.